R. Kelly, how you feel about what him and his team is claiming?
R. Kelly, Robert Kelly. Art, the R. Kelly situation is sensitive and it's unfortunate because although I never saw the video that came out about him back in 2002 showing him engaged in some sort of inappropriate sexual relations with an underage child, I never saw it, but enough people have told me that they've saw it for me to believe that it may be true. So some people would say because he's guilty of sex crimes, even if someone is trying to unalive him, we should just let it happen. Although I understand that sentiment, Art, I also understand the white man and how he thinks. We can never, not for the sake of R. Kelly, but for the sake of all the other black people in this country, we can never let this corrupt government and this corrupt criminal justice system think that if we are completely done with a certain person, if we have canceled them from the community, we can never let them think that it's okay for them to unjustly murder them after the fact for something that has nothing to do with the reason that they are incarcerated. So R. Kelly's attorney, Bo Brinkley, has alleged, and I believe him, I absolutely believe him. He has alleged that there is a contract on R. Kelly's life. I absolutely believe him. This was alleged even before the most recent overdose situation. So a couple of days ago, R. Kelly is in his cell, solitary confinement. They bring him his anxiety medication and they give him twice as much as they should have. What nurse makes that mistake, Art? Especially when it's already been put out there that the Bureau of Prisons and the U.S. attorneys and the Department of Justice are trying to take this man's life. What is that a coincidence? I don't believe it is. So R. Kelly receives an overdose in solitary confinement. He wakes up the next day, barely able to stand. He's seeing black spots. He's blurry, brain fog. I believe he falls to the ground, crawls over, barely gets the door open. The prison guards find him. They want to take him to the prison medical facility, but the prison medical facility said, we can't treat him. We don't have what he needs. So they take him to Duke University Hospital. R. Kelly gets to Duke University Hospital, and it is confirmed by the physicians that he has suffered an overdose at the hands of the prison's medical staff. They also diagnose him with blood clots in both legs and blood clots in his lungs. Now, we know, Art, one of the side effects of cheap drugs are blood clots. I don't think he had them blood clots when he got sentenced to prison. He's only been in jail a couple years, Art. He's not that old. So how did he develop blood clots in his legs and in his lungs that quickly? I believe R. Kelly's medication is intentionally, with deliberate intent, he's being given meds to cause blood clots in his legs and in his lungs. I absolutely believe that. Now check this out, Art. R. Kelly's attorney, Bo Brinkley, says that Duke University Hospital wanted to keep R. Kelly an extra 7 days. They wanted to perform a medical procedure to address his blood clots. Within an hour after deciding that he needs to stay there for an extra week, Art, He says prison police bust into the room armed with AR-15 rifles, Art. They came into the hospital with AR-15 rifles and took R. Kelly back to the jail and gave no explanation at all to the doctors. R. Kelly is in solitary confinement right now with blood clots in both legs and in his lungs, and the prison police would not allow him to remain at the hospital any longer to get the help that he needed. They want him dead, Art. Then check this out. Before the overdose incident, Bo Brinkley learned from R. Kelly that he was approached by a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. And this member of the Aryan Brotherhood, who allegedly struggles with terminal cancer, was offered a contract for freedom if he would unalive R. Kelly. He would be released from prison and he would spend whatever time left he has in life on the outside with his family. He couldn't do it, Art. He couldn't do it, so he approached R. Kelly and said, they came to me with this offer to take you out. He said, I didn't accept it, but they will be passing this on to somebody else, whether it's in my gang, whether it's in another gang. Somebody in this prison is going to be paid to take you out of here. Now, why do they want R. Kelly unalived? According to his attorney, Bo Brinkley, the U.S. attorneys, the Department of Justice, and the Bureau of Federal Prisons engaged in criminal behavior, Art, during the investigation of R. Kelly's 2021 conviction in New York for sex trafficking and R. Kelly's 2022 conviction in Chicago for child pornography. His lawyer claims, he alleges, that the government engaged in criminal corruption and conspiracy during the investigation to make sure R. Kelly would go to jail. He says that if he and his client are given an opportunity to expose the criminal behavior of the U.S. Attorney's Office, R. Kelly's conviction will be overturned and he will go free. This is what his lawyer alleges, Art. However, the music industry cannot let R. Kelly go free. Why? Because they don't want R. Kelly to expose them, and they don't want R. Kelly to regain control over his music. What does R. Kelly, Prince, and Tupac Shakur have in common? Not only were two of them murdered partially by the music industry, and a third, God forbid, is right now having his life attempted on by the music industry in collaboration with the government, and there's really no separation there because white power is white power. But what they have in common, Art, these are three artists who are known to have as much unpublished music as they had published music. Are you following me? Tupac's death was partly desired because they had so much money they still stood to make off of Tupac's unreleased music. Prince's death was partially desired because they had so much unpublished music that they could steal from Prince. And R. Kelly, same thing. R. Kelly, like Prince and Tupac, was a workaholic. He has all kinds of unpublished material. And what did R. Kelly lawyer assert back in 2022, Art? When he first went to jail, right before or right after his New York conviction, and right after his Chicago conviction. In 2022, R. Kelly told the media through his lawyer that hundreds of his master recordings, Art, for his unreleased music were stolen from his home and studio. Let me say that again. In 2022, right around the time he's convicted and sentenced, R. Kelly finds out that hundreds of his unreleased master recordings were stolen from his home and studio. And then what do we find, Art? That some of R. Kelly's music was found on some of the major streaming platforms without his submission and without his permission. How in the hell did the streaming platforms get music from R. Kelly that he never gave them? And then what else happened in 2022, Art? An album that R. Kelly didn't even create called I Admit was released in 2022, and it was quickly pulled from the shelf, and Sony Records, which is the parent company of RCA, who picked up R. Kelly after he was dropped from Jive, claimed no responsibility for the mysterious release of the I Admit album in 2022 while R. Kelly was in jail. We also know that before R. Kelly got convicted, he was in a tug of war with his parent company, Art, for not being properly compensated for his music. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I'm telling you, brother, this sounds just like Prince. What happened with Prince? In 2014, Prince gets his master recordings back. He'd been fighting for his master recordings for years. And then all of a sudden, he gets his master recordings back in 2014, Art, and he's dead by 2016. They trying to take R. Kelly out because they do not want to give him his music back. They've already stolen too much of it. They already owe him money that they never paid him. They don't want him to expose the music industry, and they don't want to get sued by R. Kelly. This takes me to Angie Stone. The Angie Stone R. Kelly situation are very similar. What did Angie Stone say in December 2024? Angie Stone did a live where she said her parent company owed her royalties that they had not paid her. She said they owed her multiple millions of dollars, and she said she was going to get her money and expose the label. I'm going to get my money and I'm going to expose the label. And then that was in December 2024. February 28th, Art, Black History Month, final day. She's performing in Alabama. March the 1st, she's driving with her entourage to the next destination. And all of a sudden, they get into an accident. And the media reports that Angie Stone dies in a car accident, and she's the only member of her entourage who dies in the car accident. And then we find out, Art, that she didn't die in the car accident. A snow bunny helped her out of the car. Because Angie Stone was discombobulated, according to the woman who helped her out, she told her to sit on the side of the road. Look at this, Art. Sit on the side of the road. As soon as she tells Angie Stone to sit on the side of the road, an 18-wheeler crosses the median on the highway, Art. An 18-wheeler crosses the median on the highway and runs Angie Stone over, killing her and nobody else. Help me understand, Art, what are the chances that you get into a car accident, you climb out? So the first attempt was unsuccessful, Art. The first attempt was unsuccessful. She was supposed to be unalived in that accident. She climbs out. You know how we know that? Because the media had already reported she passed in a car accident, Art. The media had already reported it. So then, And the media already gets the news. Okay? When the Honorable Marcus Garvey died in England, Art, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, father of modern Pan-Africanism, greatest organizer of all time of any race. The newspaper reported he was deceased before he was deceased, which is why some people believe that Mr. Garvey was poisoned. And that's why he died on June 10th, 1940. I'm just drawing a parallel here. The media reported that Angie Stone died in a car accident, but she wasn't dead. They were told to report that because those who arranged for her murder did not think that the first attempt could go wrong. But you always have backup at that level, Art. So to make sure she didn't get out of that situation alive, after she climbed out the car, the totaled car, she sat on the side of the road with the assistance of a Caucasian woman, a 18-wheeler, just so happens, Art, crosses the median and runs our sister over, taking her life and nobody else's. That is not a coincidence. R. Kelly is in the same situation as Angie Stone. The only difference between Angie Stone and R. Kelly is more popular, has more music, and is owed more money. Angie Stone was free as you can be in a racist society. R. Kelly is trapped in solitary confinement. Look at Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez gets stabbed, 14 times? And right before Tory Lanez, and prayers to Tory Lanez, blessings to Tory Lanez, blessings to his family. I see his father is a real strong fighter. Now, let me say this, Art, because when I don't know something, I don't know something. As far as the back and forth going on as to whether or not Tory Lanez pulled the trigger that shot Megan in the toe, whether it was Kelsey, I can't get into that. I don't know enough about that. If I don't know, I don't know. If he's innocent, he need to be released. If he did it, I still don't think he should have got 10 years because it wasn't an attempt on a life. But that's just me. Anyhow, I'm not going to deal with that part. But I'm going to deal with this part. Is it a coincidence, Art, that days before he gets stabbed up, days before, he submits an appeal to have his case retried? Is that a coincidence? I don't think it is. Also, mind you, Tory Lanez, similar to a Tupac Shakur, not Tupac, but similar. He's in prison, politicizing the inmates, and he's helping them, even paying his own money out of his own pocket, Art, helping them fund their freedom for false convictions and errors made by their attorneys that got them locked up when they shouldn't have been. Because as you know, most cases are plea bargain because we can't afford legal representation. So Tory Lanez is in here helping inmates get their freedom. We know that he was an independent artist. We know the major labels do not like independent artists because being a successful independent artist let other artists know you don't have to go to the majors. That undermines their authority over music. So the major music companies had a vested interest in Tory Lanez being taken out. And the prison system, which means the U.S. government, has a vested interest in Tory Lanez being taken out. Why, Art? Because in California, an inmate is worth $133,000 a year. $133,000 a year. So Tory Lanez helping them get out is undermining the bottom line of the prison system. They don't want him out. Now, he's not back at the same prison. He was transferred to another prison. And of course, we're going to wait and see what his appeal says. I can't speak to Megan. I can't speak to Kelsey. I can't speak to Tory on the conviction because I don't know what happened in that car. But what I do know, what I feel in my heart, his stabbing was not just a case of a prison beef. I believe that came from somewhere else. I absolutely believe that. The timing, Art, doesn't add up. And the fact that he helping them brothers get out, $133,000 a year per inmate, I'm sure the California prison system isn't happy about that. So look at Angie Stone, look at Tory Lanez, and now let's look at R. Kelly. When you put R. Kelly's situation in the context of Angie Stone and Tory Lanez, and he was more successful than them both, of course, Tory is too young, right? He's still young, up and coming. But R. Kelly is a bigger name, or was a bigger name, than Tory Lanez and Angie Stone put together. So if you can believe that they unalived Angie Stone over music and unpaid royalties, and that they would attempt to take Tory Lanez out of here because they don't want him publishing independent music, then you clearly have to come to the conclusion that R. Kelly is not exaggerating. His attorney is not exaggerating. They are trying to take R. Kelly out of here because he is too much of a risk to the music industry. And they would be better off without him because, as we all know, deceased artists are worth more money. And if they already stole hundreds, R. Kelly's lawyer said they stole hundreds of his master recordings. How many does he have? How much music does R. Kelly have sitting around, Art? Because you know, he got the 30 years from New York, sex trafficking, 20 years from Chicago, child pornography. They run concurrently, right? His earliest release time is 2045. R. Kelly is about 56, 57. So he wouldn't get out at the earliest, Art. At the earliest, he wouldn't get out until he's 77 years old. If he gets out early. If he don't get out early, he ain't coming out till he in his 80s, Art. They need him to stay in prison as long as possible. And that's why his lawyer is having such a difficult time, Art, trying to reopen his case so that the court can look at how the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Bureau of Prisons in the Department of Justice engaged in criminal conduct in investigating the R. Kelly case. If they can prove that, he gets released, Art. The case gets overturned. The music industry cannot afford it. And let me give you this, Art. A lesson to black people, because we had this conversation a couple interviews ago. But to underscore my point that they're using R. Kelly and Sean Combs as a distraction away from white people with similar accusations. When R. Kelly was going through his trial and conviction in 2021 and 2022, Art, guess what else was happening in the world? The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops had put out a call to survivors of Catholic Church sex abuse to file complaints. And in 2021, the same year as R. Kelly's conviction, they reported that they had received over 4,000 complaints from survivors, Art. 4,000 complaints from nearly 4,000 survivors of Roman Catholic child sex abuse. In the same time they report that, R. Kelly gets convicted. France came out in 2021, the country of France, and said they had over 200,000 cases of child sex abuse. 2021, the same year R. Kelly gets convicted. And then Spain came out, and Spain said they had 216,000 child sex abuse cases, Art. Look at that. You're talking about 200,000, 216, that's 416, another 4,000. That's 420,000 cases, Art. 420,000 cases of child sex abuse from the Roman Catholic Church being reported, and all of a sudden R. Kelly goes to trial, gets convicted, and goes to jail. And to help distract the public from what was going on in the Roman Catholic Church. What did they do on January 3rd, 2019, Art? They dropped Surviving R. Kelly. Remember that? They dropped Surviving R. Kelly to make sure they had your attention so nobody could focus on the travesty unfolding in the Roman Catholic Church. And then what did they do again in 2020, Art? They dropped Surviving R. Kelly a second time. Part 2. January of 19, Part 1. January of 20, Part 2. R. Kelly convicted in New York, 2021. R. Kelly convicted in Chicago, 2022, Art. And guess what? That's why that black cardinal of the Roman Catholic Church, Art, was not voted the next pope of the Roman Catholic Church. His name is Cardinal Robert Sarah. He's from Guinea in West Africa. You probably seen him. Do you know who I'm talking about? The black pope that everybody says should have been the next pope? Yes, Cardinal Robert Kelly, who lives in Rome, Art. He's the number one ranking, or one of the top ranking, cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church. Although he's from Africa, he's been living in Guinea since 2001, Art. 24 years. He lives right there. And guess what? They don't give him the Pope job. Instead, they come all the way to Chicago. They come all the way to Chicago and they choose their first American Pope who has a history of doing what, Art? Covering up child sex crimes in the Roman Catholic Church. Allegedly. It was reported, allegedly, that the new Pope has a history of covering up child sex crimes. You know why they didn't give Cardinal Robert Sarah that popeship, Art? He would have cleaned house. He would have cleaned house. Anybody who was guilty of touching children, he was going to strip them of their rank and put them out the church. Not just take their title. You're out of the church. They couldn't let that black man. He probably would have made the Roman Catholic Church pay reparations for slavery. He probably would have gave Africa back all the artifacts that they stole. They couldn't let, you will never get a black bishop. You will never get a black pope, Art. They cannot allow, even though the first popes in history were black. The first ones were black, but you'll never get any more black ones. They can't afford for the corruption of the Roman Catholic Church to be exposed. R. Kelly was a mule for the media to distract the world away from the Roman Catholic Church child sex abuse scandal. Do you know what they can do with his music, Art? I want to know how many unreleased master recordings he got. Because if he said they stole hundreds, at least, I think it was at least 100 of them, Art, at least 100. How much music you got, bro? How much music? And then for an album to come out, Art, in 2022, I admit, with music he never released, and then his songs is playing on the streams, and then before he gets convicted, he's fighting y'all because y'all not paying him what he's due, and y'all not trying to give him his masters. And here's the thing, Art, just like Tory Lanez, check this out. Tory Lanez is an independent artist. Well, guess what, Art? In 2019, when Surviving R. Kelly comes out, RCA Sony drops R. Kelly. You know what that means? R. Kelly is an independent artist. R. Kelly is an independent artist. They can't afford for him to get out and produce his own music and sue them for all the back money and back masters recordings that he's owed. R. Kelly right now is in the same position as Prince and Michael Jackson. More appropriately, Prince. He's in the same position as Prince right now. You're worth more to us unalived than alive. And I hope that he survives this. Whatever crimes he did against children, Art, he got to pay for that. He got to pay for that. If you urinated on that child, you stay in jail till you 80. If you ever get out. I'm serious about that. No child should ever be abused. So I'm not saying we letting him off the hook for that. I'm saying his life should not be taken for the benefit of a racist white music industry. That's all I'm saying. Because I believe he has children. He at least has family. He need that money to take care of his family. He got a community in Chicago. He need his money to take care of his Chicago. He can still take care of his business behind prison walls, but he should not be murdered for his music. He was not sentenced to die for his music. And therefore, I separate the two things.